Welcome to my channel, Official History of Coins and Gentlemen, Collectors and Dreamers. There is something magical about holding a century of history in the palm of your hand. First up, let's talk about the coin sitting in front of us today. We are discussing the 1916 United States Buffalo nickel, specifically the Liberty Head variant. Now, when I ask most people if they have a Buffalo nickel, they usually shrug and say they might have one in an old drawer somewhere. But here is the secret that most of the world does not know. Not all Buffalo nickels are created equal, and the 1916 edition holds a very special and potentially very lucrative secret. The Buffalo nickel was born in 1913, the beautiful vision of sculptor James Earle Fraser. America wanted a coin that was truly American, not a copy of ancient Roman or Greek figures. Fraser gave them a powerful portrait of a Native American chief on the front, and on the back, the mighty American bison, an animal he reportedly named Black Diamond. It was rugged, it was artistic, and it was terribly difficult to strike perfectly. But by 1916, the mint had actually improved the dies, making this year's regular strike cleaner and sharper than many that came before. Now, here's where the story splits in two. When you ask, is my 1916 Buffalo nickel valuable? The honest answer depends entirely on which version of the coin you are holding. The Philadelphia Mint churned out over 63 million of the regular strike nickels in 1916. This was a record at the time. So if you have a normal, worn-down coin with no mint mark, you are looking at a piece of history worth perhaps $6 to $30 depending on its wear. It is a wonderful keepsake, but it is not retirement money. But wait, do not walk away. Do not dismiss this coin yet. Because hiding among those millions of common coins is a ghost. A specter. A monster error known as the 1916/916 double die obverse. This is the coin that separates the men from the boys in the collecting world. This is the reason we are here today. Imagine a hub striking a die, and then striking it again, just slightly off-center. This created a duplication of the design that is so dramatic, so visible, that you can literally see the shadow of the number 916 hanging beneath the 1916 date. It looks like a trick of the light or a smudge, but it is actually a multi-$1,000 miracle. This error was so subtle that nobody even noticed it until 1962, meaning these coins circulated for nearly 50 years before collectors realized they were walking around spending gold. Here is the jaw-dropping truth. While your grandfather's pocket change Buffalo might bring $20, the 1916 double die is one of the most valuable nickels ever made. The professional coin grading service, known as PCGS, lists the auction record for this specific variety at an astonishing $281,750. Think about that. A coin worth 5 cents in 1916, spent on candy and streetcar fare, is today worth more than a luxury house. If you are sitting there thinking, well, I don't have the double die, hold on, because we are not done yet. The 1916 coin also came from two other mints, Denver and San Francisco. While the Philadelphia coin is common, the 1916 S from San Francisco had a much lower mintage, just under 12 million. And finding one of these in pristine, gem uncirculated condition is extraordinarily tough. In the highest grades, an MS-67 1916 S is rarer than diamonds, and prices reflect that scarcity with values reaching into the tens of thousands of dollars. Let's talk numbers, because I know you want the maximum. You want the ceiling. For the regular 1916 Philadelphia coin, the absolute finest known example, graded MS-68 by both PCGS and NGC, has sold for around $19,200. That is the best of the common date. But for the 1916 double die, the game changes entirely. A certified MS-64 example, which is near gem quality, has sold for $276,000. Even a well-worn, circulated example of the double die error can bring $50,000 or more. Why are people paying this? Because rarity is king. Experts estimate that fewer than 400 examples of the 1916 double die Buffalo nickel exist across the entire planet. 400. Do you realize how small that number is? There are more people in this city block than there are coins of this type. To own one is to be part of an exclusive club that most collectors can only dream of joining. The value also comes from the drama of the design itself. Fraser's bison and Native American are iconic, yes, but they are also fragile. The high points of this coin, the Indian's cheekbone, the bison's back, were down instantly if the coin is handled. Finding a 1916 coin, especially an error coin, where those details are still crisp and the luster still gleams, is almost impossible. That is why condition is everything. That is why the prices keep climbing. If you have a 1916 Buffalo nickel sitting at home, I need you to do something right now. Do not just look at the date. Look at the date. Grab a magnifying glass or even the zoom lens on your phone. Tilt the coin under a bright light. Look at the numbers 1916. Do you see a faint, shadowy impression of another 916 lurking underneath? If you see it, your heart should be pounding because you are looking at a six-figure payday. And even if you do not see the double die, check the back. Is the bison standing on a mound, or is the denomination sunk into a recess? Check the mint mark. Is there a tiny D or S on the back above the date? High-grade examples of the 1916 S or 1916 D are still serious money, often selling for more than a new car. So, is it really that valuable? Yes. Absolutely, positively yes. But only if you know what you are looking at. The average person walks past treasure every day because they do not know the secret handshake. Today, I have given you the handshake. The 1916 Buffalo nickel represents the pinnacle of American coin artistry, combined with a manufacturing flaw that created one of the rarest treasures of the 20th century. This is your motivation to check those old coin folders, to call your grandparents, to dig through that coffee can of change in the closet. You are not just looking for an old nickel. You are looking for a piece of sculptural art that the U.S. Mint accidentally created twice. You are looking for a coin that could pay off your mortgage or fund your dream vacation. The maximum value is documented. The maximum value is real. The maximum value is $281,750 and climbing. Second coin. The coin in your hand is the 1924 Buffalo nickel, and it is not just one coin. It is three distinct treasures hiding under the same date. And the difference between pocket change and a five-figure payday comes down to a single tiny letter on the back. This is the 1924 Liberty Head Buffalo nickel, designed by James Earle Fraser, and it represents a fascinating moment in American history when the country was booming, the frontier was closing, and the United States Mint was producing coins that would one day become icons of American art. The history of this coin is the history of America itself. Fraser was commissioned to create something uniquely American, moving away from the classical European figures that dominated coinage. He chose a composite portrait of three Native American chiefs, Iron Tail, Two Moons, and John Big Tree. And for the reverse, he immortalized Black Diamond, a bison that lived in the Central Park Zoo in New York. By 1924, this design had been in circulation for over a decade, and the public had fallen in love with its rugged, untamed spirit. When we talk about the 1924 Buffalo nickel, we are actually talking about three separate coins minted in three different cities. The Philadelphia Mint struck 21,620,000 of these coins, and because Philadelphia was the original mint, they did not use a mint mark. The Denver Mint produced 5,258,000 pieces, identified by a small D on the reverse. And then there is San Francisco. The San Francisco Mint struck only 1,437,000 Buffalo nickels in 1924, making it the undisputed king of the trio in terms of scarcity. Let us address the question that is burning in your mind. Can this coin be valuable in the future? The answer is an emphatic yes, and the trend is already proven. Rare coins in pristine condition have historically appreciated as wealthy collectors compete for the few remaining survivors. The 1924 S is already recognized as a semi-key coin, meaning it is one of the tougher dates to find in the entire Buffalo nickel series, and its value trajectory has only pointed upward as populations dwindle and demand increases. The current value of a 1924 Buffalo nickel depends entirely on which mint struck it and how well it survived the last century. If you are holding a common Philadelphia coin with no mint mark, and it shows significant wear, you are looking at approximately $1.20 to $3. But do not let that low number discourage you, because we are just getting started. A Philadelphia coin in extremely fine condition jumps to $18, and if you have somehow found a fully uncirculated example with no wear at all, that coin is worth $121. Now let us talk about the Denver coin. The 1924 D is moderately scarce, and unlike some of its counterparts, these were not heavily hoarded by collectors back in the day. People simply spent them, which means finding one in high grade today is genuinely difficult. A well-worn 1924 D in good condition is valued at around $6.72, but a fine example brings $22, and an extremely fine coin jumps to $147. The top tier for Denver, an uncirculated 1924 D, commands $585. Some experts note that mint condition examples of the 1924 D can approach $450, and higher certified grades can sell for several thousand. But we have saved the headliner for last. The 1924 S Buffalo Nickel is the one you dream about. With a mintage barely over 1 million, the majority of these coins were worn down or melted, leaving only a few thousand survivors across all grades. In good condition, the 1924 S starts at $12, but that is merely the entry fee. Fine specimens trade at $59, and if you have an extremely fine 1924 S, you are holding $395. The uncirculated 1924 S is the monster, valued at $2,672 according to the most recent charts. Now we must discuss the ceiling, the maximum value. How high can this coin go? The auction records paint a vivid picture. A certified PCGS MS65 example of the 1924 S recently attracted a winning bid of $7,850, which translates to over $8,800 after the buyer's premium. That is a single nickel, a 5-cent piece, selling for more than many people pay for a used car. And the gray sheet, which is the industry standard for wholesale pricing, confirms that registry set collectors are aggressively competing for the handful of MS66 specimens that exist, snapping them up immediately whenever they appear. The Philadelphia coin, despite its high mintage, has its own ceiling. Experts estimate that fewer than 8,000 examples of the 1924 P Buffalo Nickel survive in uncirculated condition, making it one of the most challenging Philadelphia Buffalo Nickels and the rarest in gem grade after 1918. There are approximately a dozen MS67 examples certified across both PCGS and NGC, and these are the holy grails for Philadelphia collectors. An NGC MS64 example of the 1924 P currently retails at $402, demonstrating that even the common mint commands serious money when the preservation is exceptional. Let me be absolutely clear about the future potential. The 1924 S is already scarce today, but as the generation of collectors who grew up searching for Buffalo Nickels continues to pursue registry set perfection, the competition for the highest graded examples will only intensify. The handful of MS66 and MS67 coins that exist are not increasing in number. They are locked away in climate-controlled vaults, and when one changes hands, it is often years before it appears again. This is the formula for appreciation. Scarcity plus demand equals higher prices tomorrow. Why is the 1924 D worth significantly more than the 1924 P despite similar mintages? History tells us that collectors in the 1920s and 1930s did not routinely hoard Denver Mint nickels the way they hoarded San Francisco issues. They did not realize that the 1924 D would one day be considered scarce. Consequently, the vast majority were circulated, worn down, and eventually melted or discarded. The survivors in high grade are accidental treasures, coins that happened to fall behind a drawer or were forgotten in a jar, and they are now commanding premium prices because of that inadvertent preservation. If you are wondering about the artistic details that drive this value, look at the coin itself. Fraser's design is notoriously difficult to strike properly, and the high points, the Indian's cheekbone, the braid in his hair, the bison's shoulder and hip, were down almost immediately once the coin enters circulation. Finding a 1924 nickel where those details are still crisp and sharp is like finding a photograph from 1924 that has never faded. That is why certified coins with strong strikes command such enormous premiums. There is also the factor of the artist's signature. Look closely under the date, and you will see a small F, James Earle Fraser's personal mark, his claim to this masterpiece. Collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying a piece of sculptural art signed by the artist himself. That F adds nothing to the monetary value directly, but it adds everything to the soul of the coin, and it reminds us that this is not merely currency, but a deliberate work of beauty. Now let us address the maximum value in concrete terms. Based on documented auction results and current market data, a 1924 Buffalo Nickels certified PCGS MS65 is selling today in the range of $7,800 to $8,800. The gray sheet and major auction houses indicate that MS66 examples, which number only in the single digits or low double digits across both grading services, would command substantially more, likely exceeding $15,000 and potentially approaching $20,000 or higher, depending on the eye appeal and the intensity of the bidding war. The Philadelphia coin has its own elite tier. While the PCGS price guide for a 1924 P in MS63 shows approximately 2,662 yuan, which converts to several $100s, the true ceiling is the MS67 examples. These are the dozen coins, the absolute finest known, and they represent the pinnacle of what the Philadelphia Mint could produce. When one of these appears at auction, it is an event. The value is negotiated privately or determined in competitive bidding, and it is safe to say that a 1924 PMS67 is a five-figure coin. If you are holding a 1924 D in MS65 condition, we are looking at values that comfortably exceed $1,000 and climb towards several thousand. The PCGS Coinfax database confirms that exceptional specimens with full strike details and pristine surfaces have sold for significant premiums, and advanced collectors pursuing complete sets of the Denver Mint issues are willing to pay handsomely for the privilege of owning the best.